Hey everybody. Today I'll share with you some stuff about dogs in the classroom and why this does not look like a good idea and why this also looks like taxpayer funded dumbing down of our population. Okay, so as a refresher, let me show you this little video here. This has to do with CO2 levels and cognition effects.
I consider CO2 like elevated CO2 levels are the equivalent of wearing an invisible weight jacket that just gradually weighs down on you and it just takes away from you and you don't notice it. Homeowners don't know that.
So he's talking about how over time extra CO2 screws around with your cognition, your initiative, you're willing to do things, and it just makes you have like a lot of sedentary habits. There's plenty of studies that have illustrated this. In fact, we used to use CO2 heavily to euthanize animals that needed to be euthanized. And CO2 causes a lot of mental and physical distress. So this is not something that is a conspiracy theory at all. This is well known. Let me share with you another little clip from this video.
Differences in some of these activities. Some of them aren't nearly as big, but basic activities, you're at marginal. Look at your initiative.
Yeah,
It now dysfunctional.
that's people that fall asleep in their home.
So the this graph that he's sharing here, as CO2 levels increase, the balance of oxygen to CO2, as the oxygen goes away and the CO2 is raised, uh, your initiative is one of those things that becomes dysfunctional right away. Some of these other things, it doesn't affect you as much, like your activity and stuff like that, your focus and stuff. But your initiative, like to get up and do new things, to learn new things, to examine what's going on in your environment. So that's very detrimental because if you're taking away somebody's initiative, that's not good for them.
As soon as they walk through the door and they think they're depressed because
They don't feel like doing anything. Like you said, getting out of bed. This is, and again, you can apply it to people's in their homes, or these are kids now. They don't feel like they're they don't take initiative to take on tasks, to do work, to
And it's going to be hard for people to take initiative when their homes and classrooms are full of dogs. Their initiative is reduced. And so, how are they going to question the fact that all these dogs are there climbing up around on their tables while they're trying to put a puzzle together or play on their computer? They're not going to have that initiative, that cognitive focus to say, hey, wait a minute, I'm trying to do schoolwork. Why are all these people putting dogs up in my environment and taking pictures? What's going on here? So now let's look at some pictures from these dogs in the classroom programs. So, for one, you're taking away the kids' oxygen. And for two, you're putting CO2 in the environment. And these pictures are all framed up and staged. And so you got to ask yourself, well, why? Why would they put all of these crazy articles and make all these claims that dogs are so great? Like they have a dog sitting here in an office chair. Like, what lesson could that dog actually be um, with those kids? No lesson. Like a picture like this. This girl can't focus on her book because she has to rub on this dog. How is this actually increasing focus? We have a supposed therapy dog here, and this autistic girl is trying to read a book, but the dog is rubbing its nose up on there. Where's that dog's nose been? We all know where these dogs put their noses. So if you're full of CO2 and you're looking at these pictures, you're going to have less initiative to question them. So this is like a 1-2 hit to your brain. This right here claims that this dog Thule helps autistic children focus. Does that look like a focused kid? It looks like he has a little worksheet to check out here. But how can he do it when this dog is up here, sucking the oxygen away, blowing out CO2 in this kid's face? which increases his respiratory anxiety, or I'm sorry, respiratory stress, mental anxiety, and the dog is interrupting him. How can he focus on that when he's looking over here at this dog? So what is the actual motivation for all these dogs in classrooms? If it's not actually for kids, then what's going on? So to offer an answer to that question, let's go over to this American Kennel Club page. So notice again, they got the dog right here. And of course, the adult has to hold the dog still. So I'm not sure how that's helping focus. They're all wearing masks to reduce the CO2 droplets being expelled into the air. Yet the dog is expelling CO2, as well as feces particles, as well as at least a dozen different zoonotic bacteria right here with his feet. So, how exactly is this helping? And why are we not asking these people that are filling the classrooms with dogs about ventilation and CO2? So up here in the corner, I did a search for CO2, no matches. So they're not going to mention the CO2 that dogs add. So what about ventilation? Let me type that in for a search. And we got no matches. So let's do another keyword search. I keyword search for grants. So this is all about the money. These nonprofit organizations that use your tax dollars to cover all the expenses that they go through to fill your classrooms with dogs. Well, it's all about the money, you guys. It's all about taking money away from the taxpayers and making their kids stupider. Seriously. I mean, that may sound like a conspiracy theory, but I mean, just look at it. More and more kids having to go to school and sit here and rub up on dogs instead of focus on what they need to do, indoctrinating them to go home and be face down there on the floor where all the CO2 is. I think it's like 27,000 face surgeries per year that are actually reported, kids being bitten by dogs. So this doesn't make any sense at all. But if you look at these nonprofit organizations that are filling your classrooms with dogs with your money, well, then it makes sense. Like, look at the historic issues that we're having right now with learning outcomes. Kids being crappy at math, being crappy at English, having low attention spans, having no initiative, just wanting to sit at home and eat candy and play on their phones. Which, I mean, that's part of it too. But putting the kid in a classroom with a dog, you're adding CO2 to the kid's environment. And in all of these places that I go look, like this one right here, there is no mention about improving outcomes by improving ventilation. They're making all of these claims that somehow this stinky beast rubbing up against your daughter's leg, interrupting her book, somehow that's going to make her smarter and do better in school. But yet, that's never been proven. So here's an example of one of the organizations that gives money to schools. It's called the Charlotte Helen Bacon Foundation. Okay, so we go look at their website. Yep, they're a nonprofit organization, which means all of their expenses they can claim on their taxes, and that makes them taxpayer funded or government funded. And here's their webpage, their actual webpage. And as you can see, it's all about pupper doggos. Charlotte's Litter Therapy Dog Litter. Charlotte's Litter. They have a veterinary scholarship. So they'll pay people to be veterinarians, and that's going to be partially taxpayer funded because they're 501c3. But what about veterinary suicide? Are they going to do anything about that? Go ahead and keyword search their website and see if they're doing anything about that. Here's one of the images on their webpage. It's a young lady up against a tree, and she, look at the picture. She's trying to read a book, but this dog is licking her, open mouth licking her. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dogs all around her. How can she focus and read a book and just relax? And there's not any birds or squirrels around there because those dogs would run them off. And if you zoom out on this picture, it's going to be turds and piss and grass that's stained yellow from these dogs pissing and shitting everywhere. So, this whole picture that they have right here that they're painting for everybody, it's just a lie. But they're trying to, use propaganda and all this positive marketing of, oh, look, reading a book with a bunch of dogs climbing up all over you. That's the best way to do it. So get a grant from us and fill your school with a bunch of dogs. So there it is. There's the look at these school therapy dogs. And clearly, one of the incentives is to get money from a tax shelter organization. And does that necessarily mean, that that's all it's about? No. But obviously, that's going to be a big push. If they can say a couple lies or exaggerate a couple things about these dogs, and then they're going to get a huge grant, of course they'll do it. Of course they will. So, see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to check the description for all the links and give me a like and a comment while you're there. See you later.